Now, next, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Armstrong, Director of the Defence Forces School of Music. You're very welcome. The floor is yours.
Seanad, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here to, as Senator Daly has remarked, in the first instance give a brief resume of the genesis of our anthem and then the role that the Defence Forces School of Music played. I have to apologise for the broadcast quality. I'm suffering like Conal from the remains of a virus, so please be patient. I think indeed. I listened with great interest to Councillor Fitzgerald's account of singing Aron Devine in school. Being a member of the Church of Ireland, just as a total aside, I was remarking earlier on to Conal that I was not taught the national anthem in primary school, late 60s, early 70s. And when I joined the Scout Association as a young boy, I learned it as Spera. So I think there's a nice symmetry to the fact that, as Senator Daly described, I appear to be the de facto custodian of the official version, or should I say the unofficial version, and I think there's a nice symmetry to that. So my presentation is brief. To start off, the official adoption by the Irish state of the song entitled The Soldier Song as a national anthem followed a somewhat tortuous route. I'm indebted to Dr. Carol Ann Mullaney Dignam, whose doctoral thesis, State, Nation and Music in Independent Ireland, 1922 to 51, has provided much detail backed up by primary sources from state archives. Information has also been provided by an article written by Ruth Sherry, Professor of English in the University of Trondheim in Norway. The words of the Soldier's Song were written either in late 1909 or early 1910, and we know this from the affidavit already referred to from Pater Carney, dated August 1926. Pater Carney, as we know, is a member of the IRB and an author of many popular songs and verses. It's understood that the music written by Patrick Heaney was written around the same time. The original text was in English and was first published in Bulmer Hobson's Irish Freedom in 1912. The song was adopted as a marching song by the Irish Volunteers in 1913, and after the Rising became the anthem of the independence movement. And by general account, it was in the internment camps after the Easter Rising that the Soldier's Song became widely used, and the song consequently became strongly associated with the army after the establishment of the Free State. During the years following the establishment of the Free State, there was no officially adopted national anthem. Thomas Moore's Let Erin Remember was often played on formal occasions abroad, and T.D. Sullivan's God Save Ireland was favoured by the Parliamentary Party. It was the participation of Irish athletes at the 1924 Olympic Games which initially raised the question of a suitable national anthem for the newly independent state. On the recommendation to W.T. Cosgrave, President of the Executive Council, by Sean Lester, Director of Publicity at the Department of External Affairs, Let Erin Remember was played at the 1924 Olympic Games. In his recommendation, he mentioned A Nation Once Again and the Soldier's Song, which, in his opinion, were not suitable for the purpose. This would indicate that both of these songs were in current usage in the absence of an officially adopted national anthem. The involvement of the Defence Forces School of Music, or indeed the Army School of Music as it was at the time, was key in this story. Colonel Wilhelm Fritz Brase, the first director of the Defence Forces School of Music, was appointed by the Irish government in 1923 to establish a music service for the Irish Army. The first performance of the newly formed Army No. 1 band took place in the Theatre Royal Dublin in October 1923, and he had only arrived in the country in April 23. So this was some achievement. 4 months after that first concert, the band performed once again in the Theatre Royal in Dublin, and on that occasion, following requests for an encore, the band obliged with a recent composition of Colonel Brase entitled Irish March No. 1. This medley included songs such as The Minstrel Boy, Who Fears to Speak of 98, and The Soldier's Song. It is understood that members of the audience, including the Governor-General of the Irish Free State, Timothy Healy, and the head of the Executive Council, W.T. Cosgrave, stood up on the playing of the Soldier's Song in recognition of the song as an anthem. Between 1924 and 26, it appears that the music of the Soldier's Song was informally adopted by the government for use as an anthem. In 1926, the government of the Free State was compelled to make a formal decision regarding the anthem, following requests from the United States of America for the supply of printed copies of our official anthem. The minutes of an Executive Council meeting on the 12th of July 1926 indicate that a decision was made to adopt the Soldier's Song as the official anthem. This adoption was not formally promulgated at the time, but was simply put into effect for official purposes. In 1926, the Irish Times reported that when the Governor-General visited the Dublin Horse Show, the Soldier's Song was played. The version of the Soldier's Song played by the Army No. 1 band at that time was that arranged by Colonel Brazza. The custom was for the song to commence with the verse, followed by the refrain, which we recognise today as Aron Devine. In 1928, Desmond Fitzgerald, Minister for Defence, wrote to the Executive Council suggesting that some changes be made to the National Anthem. In his memo dated the 19th of October 28 to the Council, he offered the opinion that it was too long to permit of the words being generally known and sung by the people. Indeed, he was correct in that. Fitzgerald suggested to the Cabinet that the Irish National Anthem open with its refrain, or chorus, the one we're familiar with today, and be published and taught as such. He added that Colonel Brazza could be asked to arrange it for school singing in 1, 2, 3 and 4 voices. Colonel Brazza was tasked with the rearrangement, and Executive Council approved Brazza's version as played by the Army No. 1 band. The band was recorded by His Master's Voice, which became HMV, a record label, performing a number of pieces in the Theatre Royal in 1931, including the Irish National Anthem. The anthem was recorded in 2 versions, firstly the long version commencing with the verse, and secondly the short version, which consisted of the refrain. And it was that recording of the refrain that was used for many years by theatres and cinemas at the close of entertainments, up to the 1970s or 80s, I believe. In 1932, it was agreed by Cabinet that the short version of the anthem, as recorded by Colonel Brazza by HMV in 1931, should be recognised as the official arrangement played by places of entertainment. It was also agreed to commission Colonel Brazza to prepare instrumental parts for the short version of the anthem for bands and orchestras in order to secure uniformity in the playing of the anthem throughout the country. To summarise, the current arrangement of the National Anthem used by Defence Forces bands was made by a former director of the Defence Forces School of Music, Colonel James R. McGee. Colonel McGee acted as director between 1987 and 1988. Not only did McGee rearrange the Irish anthem, but he scored many international anthems for modern instrumentation for use by army bands. These arrangements are still in use today at events such as the Dublin Horse Show and visits of foreign heads of state. They are robust and stand up to outdoor usage. Colonel McGee also scored a number of ceremonial salutes used by the military for full military bands, which have not been improved upon and we still use. Colonel McGee's rearrangement of the Irish National Anthem, if it could be described as such, is minimal. He retained Brazzi's essential harmonic structure while simplifying much of the high woodwind, which in Brazzi's version was fast-moving and not always effective outdoors. Band instrumentation had changed over the decades, and Colonel McGee adjusted this accordingly. Colonel McGee's and Colonel Brazzi's arrangements are essentially one and the same, having no material difference from a musicological point of view. To finish, the music adopted by the Executive Council on the 12th of July 26 as the Irish National Anthem, in quotes, as performed by the Army No. 1 band, remains substantially the same as that performed today. And as Senator Daly has mentioned, I've provided full scores of the Brazzi and McGee versions for the information of the committee. I note that one of the objectives of the committee is to decide whether the anthem should be enshrined in the Constitution, like the national symbols, the harp and the flag. Personally, I'm not speaking for the Defence Force in this, but I would be personally in accord with doing that. I think it's important to secure it for the Irish state in the future, and I would have a personal interest in I would be happy to advise on what actual arrangement is adopted, because if it is adopted formally, the actual arrangement, the musical arrangement, would have to be determined at the same time. That finishes my presentation.
Thank you very much.